Next up, we're gonna be baking the cinnamon rolls. These are some of our favorite recipes out of the Gluten-Free Made Simple recipe book. I've maybe said that about a few of them, but these really are such a treat when you've gone gluten-free and now you can finally have delicious cinnamon rolls. These cinnamon rolls are not made like traditional cinnamon rolls in that they do not use yeast. They are actually made from a biscuit recipe, and so there is no extra rise time. And as a side note, if you ever need some biscuits, you can use the dough recipe to make your biscuits. So first we're gonna start by making our buttermilk because I do not have buttermilk on hand. To do that, we're just gonna take a tablespoon of lemon juice, and then we're going to fill it to a cup with milk. We're gonna give this a stir and then just let it sit until we need it. Next, we're gonna combine our flour, just 2.5 cups of flour, and our salt, sugar, baking soda, and baking powder, and I have those all measured out in here. I'm gonna give that just a little mix. Then I have pre-cut my butter cubes, and we're gonna go ahead and place those in the bowl. And I like to break mine apart so that they get all covered with flour. Then from there, you're gonna cut in the butter, which simply means using a pastry cutter like this one and cutting it until it looks like small pebbles in your bowl. Now, if you don't have a pastry cutter, you can go ahead and use a sturdy fork to achieve the same task. Okay, now I have that down to small pebbles. And next we're going to take 3/4 cup of our buttermilk and whisk our eggs in it. I like to give this just one more stir. And now we'll whisk in the eggs. Now that we have that whisked together, we're gonna put the mixture into our flour and butter mixture. I like to start mixing this with a fork, but eventually I'll be using my hands. You can also use a stand mixer for this step if you wish. And eventually your dough should come together to look something like this. Next, you're gonna take and roll out 2 pieces of plastic wrap for rolling your dough out. The plastic wrap is just gonna make things easier, especially when you go to roll your cinnamon rolls. Then we're gonna take and sprinkle the plastic wrap with some flour. I'm gonna put our dough in there. Now I find it helpful to kind of shape my dough into A rectangular shape just makes it a little easier when it comes to rolling it out. Now we're going to sprinkle the dough with a light layer of flour and place another layer of plastic wrap on top. Now we're going to roll this out to our desired thickness, which is about a 1/4 inch thick is a good thickness. Now I just like to straighten up my sides a little bit, and then we are ready to make the filling. I want to give you guys a real good look here at what that dough looks like all rolled out. Now I have our filling ingredients, which is our 1/2 cup of room temp butter. Mine's a little bit more melted than that, and that's okay. A full cup of brown sugar and 2 tablespoons of cinnamon. We're gonna go ahead and just put those all together in the bowl and mix them together. Yours may not look quite like this because my butter was pretty warm, and that's okay. It just needs to be able to be spread across your dough. I'm gonna go ahead and remove that top layer of plastic wrap. Fix your dough in any areas that you want. It doesn't have to be perfectly square by any means. It'll work just fine. And now you can go ahead and spread your filling out on your dough. Now, if yours is not quite as melted as mine, it may not spread quite as nicely, and that's okay. You can just crumble it across the top of the dough. The key is just to get it evenly distributed. And now comes the fun part, getting to roll your dough up. So you're just gonna start from one edge using your plastic wrap and start rolling your dough. And then once you have them all rolled up, you're gonna cut them to fit in your pan. Now I am using a glass baking dish for this recipe today. You can also use a cast iron skillet. If you're using cast iron, you wanna make sure that you've preheated it in the oven, greased it before putting your rolls in. You do not need to preheat any other pan. I like to cut mine about 1.5 to 2 inches thick, and then just stick them in the pan. Now that they're all in the pan, we're going to brush some buttermilk over all of the visible edges of the dough. These are gonna bake for approximately 18 minutes at 450 degrees. All right, the cinnamon rolls are done baking, and it is time to make the frosting. We have butter and cream cheese that we're gonna go ahead and cream together before adding anything else. You want to scrape this down partway through and make sure that you get this nice and creamy so that there aren't extra chunks in it. Once you have that cream together, then we're going to slowly add in the powdered sugar. You're also going to add in a half a teaspoon of salt. And then once that is mixed together, you're going to add in your vanilla and your heavy cream. There you have it, friends, an absolutely delicious gluten-free cinnamon roll.